So this is a teaching tool in Unity where you can create these scenes where students will try to label a diagram. I happen to have a science diagram here. I'll just show you what it looks like when a student would use it. So a student would get it in this state, and you can see there are these word-based tiles that fit in these gray slots somewhere. So somewhere is the gallbladder. If you put the tile in the wrong place, 3 points subtracted from your score. If you actually know where the gallbladder is, 10 points are added to the score. The tile turns green. In this case, I have 10 slots to fill. That's customizable by you, the developer. And I happen to have 12 tiles because 2 of them don't go anywhere. Kidney doesn't belong anywhere in this diagram. It's a distractor. So you have control over all these features, how many tiles, where to place the labels, and what diagram to use in the first place. To get started with this project, you'll need to download this starter package, Diagram Labeling Starter Package. The link to this is in the description of this video, and go ahead and download that. Then from Unity Hub, start a new project. 2D core is good, and give it a title. That'll take a little while to create. So this is how mine loaded up. Sample scene is blank. Go to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package, and find the downloaded package, Diagram Labeling Starter Package. Open. Then say import all these assets. Click this project folder on the far left, and there are a lot of things that are available for you. To get started, top menu, File, Open Scene, Scenes folder, choose Diagram Labeling Starter Scene. And there you go. Before you start making any changes, File menu, Save As, Scenes folder, and give it a new title so you can always have an unchanged starter scene. This one, you can mess it up, won't change the original. So you need to start by choosing a suitable diagram. In this case, that is the diagram sprite here, game object, and you would need to have a diagram to start with. So this diagram I'm using currently, you can see digestive system diagram. It's this one right here. So you can just take the diagram, perhaps from the internet, and just download it onto your computer. So when you created the Unity project from Unity Hub, it made a folder on your computer. Mine is Sci Diagram Labeling. So in that folder there's an Assets folder, and there should be within that a Tile Images subfolder. So this is where you want to save your diagram. So you can look, here's my anatomy, digestive system, here's another one. So if you put your files or pictures that you want to save in the Tile Images subfolder, they should be easy to find when you're working in Unity in your project. This particular diagram came already labeled, which made it very easy for me to place these gray tiles. so that they point at objects of interest in the diagram. Going to Scene View. Here's this first gray box. If I click on it and I click on this Move tool with the 4 arrows, then I can drag it. So you see, it already said mouth. So I just covered that up with my gray box. And this should be the liver right here. And it already said liver. I just covered it up with my gray box. So if you have a label diagram, this is really easy to put the boxes over the original labels and you're ready to go. I will now show you what do you do if you're starting with an unlabeled diagram. So here on the left, I've highlighted diagram sprite. On the right, there is something that says sprite renderer. It's possible you'll have to expand it. So if it looks like this, just click the triangle. And then there's something called sprite. So this is the actual picture that I have in the middle. Right now it's anatomy digestive system. To change that, I'll click on this circle with a dot. And in the assets folder, then I have to find a new diagram. So this is one that I downloaded from the web. It's digestive system and it's got color. And there it is. So I just clicked on the circle with arrow and I found the image that I downloaded from the web. An alternative method to get the image into the sprite renderer. This is the project folder, assets. I have my tile images. This is the folder in which I saved everything that was a valuable image. Now here they all are available for me to use. Go back to diagram sprite and drag in the desired picture. You can see right at the moment it's too big to fit in the scene. So I'm going up here on the top to Scene View and I will scale the object. So right now the upper right shows that X scales 2.6 and Y is 2.4. Let's just bring that down a little bit. Getting closer. Okay, let's take a look at that in game view. Decent, huh? Decent. So now you can see I need some arrows to point at the objects of interest. And on the left here you can see there's labeling line horizontal and labeling line angle up or down. So let me make those all three active. So I highlighted them and in the upper right I'll check the white box and here they are. So let's go to Scene View and it's going to be a little ugly here. Let me just drag them out of the way. Okay. There they are. Alright, so maybe this is a good one to start with. So number 2 is supposed to point at the liver. So I'll put this angling line here. It's pointing at the liver. I can move this box. I just click on it and I have to make sure I'm on Move tool. So if you're on View tool or Rotate, just change it to, just click it, Move tool. And there we go. So now that's probably pretty good there. So now this box number 2 is pointing at the liver. Box number 1, let's have it point at the mouth. So here is the pointer and here is the box and here's this other pointer that I don't need at the moment. Okay, so now I hope I can see that this box here, which is box number 1, now I'll use this hand tool. Sometimes you may need to move things around. when working in scene view. So see, with the hand, I can move the whole image. Okay, so box 1 is pointing at the mouth. Go back to my move tool. Maybe bring it in a little bit. There. Okay, so maybe that's good. And box 6 is supposed to point at the esophagus, so now is when I can use this downward slant here. That's the esophagus. Click box 6. Cover it up nicely. Okay, that looks decent. All right, if you need more lines, like this number 7, I want it to point at the stomach. So I'm going to need another line to do that. And unfortunately, it's not as simple as just click and drag a line. So let me use the angling up on the far left, labeling line angle up, and I'm going to duplicate it. And it's here now. So there's a duplicate. I can drag that one down here, but you can kind of see it might get ugly, so I need to make a different angle for it, a steeper angle. So to change the angle of this line, up on here, the drawing menu, there's a rotate tool. And unfortunately, this will rotate in 3 dimensions. So you may be able to see there's an outer circle, an inner circle. There's these red and green lines here. I think it's the outer circle I need to click on, which is yellow now. And you can see I can drag it so that it's good. And that's a nice steep line. Go back to move. Drag it over. So box 7 is now pointing at the stomach. All right, I'm actually enjoying this. Somehow it appeals to me. But I'm hoping you see it's relatively easy to do. Okay, let's see if I'll do one more for an example. Okay, so here I'm using the hand, which is called the view tool. And I'm dragging it up so I can get down to box 8, etc. Okay, 8 is supposed to point to the pancreas. You can see the pancreas is pointing out here a little bit. So once again, that's an angle up. I'll duplicate it. And where did it go? Where is it in the diagram? There it is. Okay, get the move tool. Get the move tool. And here we go. All right, and I'm going to zoom out. I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom out. And this one's going to be a little tricky because I have to get it onto the pancreas. But it has to also reach box 8. Okay, so let's go to the rotate tool. And once again, outer wheel. And turn it a little bit. That might be good enough. Back to the move tool. Point at the pancreas. It's got to reach box 8. So, if you needed to make the line longer, that can be done up here with the transform scale. Let's see what happens if I make this 2. Now you see it's a much longer line. So X and Y scale. X scale is the length of the line. Y scale is the width of the line. So if you wanted to make it wider for some reason, now it's wider. Okay, I'm going back to 1 and 1 because for me this works in the diagram. If you also wanted to make it shorter, you can make these less than 1. 0.5 will make a tiny short line there. The other thing you're going to need to do is make sure your white tiles have text that lines up with the placements in the diagram. Let me first expand the list of movable white tiles. So there's a triangle to the left of the words movable white tiles. So I'm clicking that triangle. And label 1 through 10 plus distractors 1 and 2. The distractors 1 and 2 are these ones at the very bottom of the scene. For your first trial, I recommend you highlight them and disable them. So in the upper right, there's a box that's checked. If I uncheck it, they're now invisible. Bring them back at the end. Bring them back at the end, if you want to. So now we have 10 labels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And these do have an order which corresponds to the order of the numbered gray boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You don't need to move these around. Don't move them around. Just make sure that the label matches the right thing. I click on the arrow next to label number 1. I click on the arrow next to canvas. There's a label. And if I wanted to point at something different other than the mouth, I can do it. So if I want to change the label from mouth to something different, then I have highlighted this label, which is a text box under the canvas of label number 1. And on the right, it says text input. I could change this to be something else. So here I will change it from mouth to nasal cavity because I think that's what this is up here in the diagram. So then I'd have to have my arrow point at that instead. Alright, so if I wanted to change label number 2, which is liver, again, click the triangle next to label 2, click the triangle next to canvas, highlight label, and on the right side, type in something other than liver. Alright, so I think the way to plan this is to say, first, get your diagram. Second, figure out how many labels you want. I wouldn't recommend more than 12 labels. It gets really crowded. Once you know what you want to label, set it up so that you're pointing at the things. And then write in the words that go with the labels for the diagram. The last couple things I want to show you, there's a scorekeeper tile. So if we go to scorekeeper tile, zooming in, it's right here at the top of the picture. It's right here on the hierarchy. So I highlighted it. I clicked it once. And there's a place for you to say what % score is needed. Right here at the bottom. It's set by default to 86%. So you can set it to whatever level you feel is required for your students' mastery in this activity. There are also some sounds here: happy sound, sad sound, defeat and victory, and applause. These are all sounds. I've preloaded sounds that I think are appropriate, but if you want to change them, you can record your own sounds. And let's have an example. Suppose you want a different happy sound. So I highlighted it on the right. It says audio clip. There's a circle with a dot. If you have sounds that you put in yourself, you can put them here and choose a different one. Okay, there are some unused sounds here, so you're certainly welcome to try them up if you like. There you go. So this is not finished. I didn't put all my arrow pointing spots, but let's imagine I did. When you are ready to play, you just press play here in Unity. It should say score is 0 to start. And it should have randomized the locations of your labels. So each time the student plays, it'll be different. So they have to actually read. And then if you place it correctly, 10 points added to the score, tile turns green. Place it incorrectly, 3 points subtracted from your score, didn't turn green. If I want to place it just on the side, saying, I don't know where the esophagus is, I should try something else, just put it on the side. Alright, and if you added distractors, they would also be part of the list of tiles, and makes it more challenging for the student, more thought required to say, does that really belong in this diagram? So if you want more or fewer tiles, here I'm doing the gray tiles first. Click on the triangle. There are 2 additional tiles which are grayed out. If you want to activate that, highlight it, white box on the right. So now I have an 11th gray tile. Can do up to 12. You can do the same with the white tiles. There's label 11, label 12, which could be activated. But if you have 12 labels, then you can't also have the distractors. So there's room for 12 white tiles, the ones that are actual, plus the distractors. If you want fewer, if you say I only had 8, for example, you can deactivate 9 and 10. Same way. But if you have 8 white tiles, you better have 8 gray placements. So again, just highlight the ones you don't need. Boom, there you go. So real easy to add and subtract just by activating and deactivating tiles. Once everything works in Unity, you'll want to make a WebGL build that you can post for your students on a website. That's the subject of a different video in my video series. Click on the link in the end panel.